welcome again. In this segment, episode 40, we're talking about elements that you put on your layout. These elements is what build the scenes to make your layout come into a final point, all the details and so on. Last episode, on episode 39, we talk about concept, the conceptualization of a scene, which is the first things that you do. On that, let's look at exactly what happened since we show you how to conceptualize a scene. Now, if you remember, when we show you those buildings on the last episode, you will notice that behind those buildings now, where we're pointing, is a backdrop. The backdrop, well, it's all made from color pictures, and it goes all along, following, and that's what create the perspective that it's way bigger than in reality it is. Now, when you start to look at the elements, that is the first elements that you want to put in is your backdrop. The second elements that you put in is the location of your buildings, which you already had a concept of. So the buildings, as you notice, are not straight to the view. They are all with an angles. So you don't have a direct view. So you have to move from one step to another to be able to see all the scenes that are involved. Now, we'll come back a little later in here on the scene. Now, when you have that established, you come in and your roads have been in place, and your backdrop is in place, your buildings are in place temporarily the time you do the scenery. You're talking about trees. Now, trees are very, very important, because the trees that we have in this specific scenes is they are wheat called goldenrods that they have been painted with oil and then hairspray, and after the hairspray we put the leaves on and so on, and then we plant them all. So that's the second element, the third element I might say, that you put on your layout. But a layout, a model railroad layout, is not just about trees and building and trains. It's also about vehicles. So you want to have many different vehicles all around, placed in strategic locations, so that you can at that point have some life on your layout. As you can see, we got quite a few of them on this layout. Now, creating a natural view blocks inside, you will notice at the end of that street is a tractor trailer that is for dry cement that will go to the cement plant, which is one of the industry of that village. When we come back out a little bit on the outskirt of the village, we encounter the cemetery. Now, the cemetery, when I was talking about detailing a scene, is exactly what it is. We have a funeral. We have all the tombstone with the flowers on the front of it, the fence, the gates, and now we can see those guys pushing the car to go to the garage. That is right there. And behind is the police that escort them. So this specific cemetery is part of it on a lift out. On the lift out, we see on the forefront a house. and you got a motorcycle that is there, and behind it we got the farm. The farm is super details. As I remember through my memories, you see the garden with the sheep behind, and you see the forest behind, which create a view block, and that view block where you can see through the trees the train station. In the same farm, when you talk about details, you can look at, example, the chicken here in the chicken coop, you know, and the turkey and the geese, and you see the grandfather talking to me, and you see the aunt that come in from the garden with a basket full of produce, the dogs. You can see the other aunt that is coming in from the well with a bucket of waters, and then you get into the barn itself and the horses, the apple trees, and then you go and you see the pigs in the pig pens, and the old car of my uncle that was there, kind of abandoned. And then to complete the scene, you have the cows that are in the pasture, you know, with their calves. Now you notice where the fence is rocks on both sides, so that was the rocks that the grandfather had picked up. You have the same thing on the other side, where you can see those rock fence that were there. You know, that is the crop field beside the road, and the gravel road that come in on the front of the properties. You know, you see the mailbox and people sitting on the porch, and that gravel roads will go to what is not developed yet in here, which is still under the conceptualizations of where the quarry will be. So when you talk about detailing, is never enough details. Now on the farm we have a combination of trees. The tree that I'm showing you right now, that is a super tree. That's from Woodland Scenic. And the others behind are the trees that made with goldenrod. So when you really look at the whole scene per se, you will notice that nothing is straight. Nothing. Every road, depending on how you look at, bring you to a different scene. The store, the stop, that road also that is not totally straight. And when you bring the element of your train running, that's what it looked like, you know. Each of those trees and these scenes that you see and the scene within the scene give you the opportunity at that point of making your train look a whole lot longer. You don't need a long train, you need a train that is just long enough so that as it passes you see it, you lose it, you see it and you lose it. Then you got the natural view blocks in here that I'm showing you where the locomotive is. That is in between the New Brunswick, where is the mine and the loading, coal loadings, and then it just in a fluid motions transit into the village, which will also in a fluid motion transit into Sudbury and the nickel mine. So I hope it gives you some idea on how to detail a scene and how to create a scene within a scene. Another example in the garage. Now, the last element that you will be put in is people. Such in here as the garage, you see the car with the hood open, you will have a mechanic that is changing the oil and so on, another one that's filling up the car. So that is the other part. So you add on your figures so that they create a story and tell you the story of that village. And on the front here, which is right now under construction, is where the scrapyard would be and an abandoned quarries. So the scene is slowly taking place, and then it gradually transit with the coal loaders. So I hope you enjoyed that little segment, and till next time,